millions of Bitcoiners. They're just having like a few thousand euros of Bitcoin laying in some Strike account. If you have a net worth of 200,000 and you have 1,000 euros in Bitcoin, you don't get Bitcoin. I made a lot of mistakes in my Bitcoin journey in my 5 years. If we come to a world where everything is AI, everything is kind of hard to verify, what's the worth of Bitcoin if Bitcoin is the only thing we can truly trust? Even though we mostly have a very convenient situation and the banking system works for most of us, it doesn't work from all of us. I think that's the main reason why people don't have self-custody, because they just don't have to, like, they didn't experience how freedom gets taken away. Is it too late for me to get into Bitcoin? No, it's not. You should get into Bitcoin. Is it too late to build something in Bitcoin? No, it's not. We are very early on. And if you hold all your life savings in one exchange, they can rob you of your life tomorrow or today even.
Welcome back to Your Bitcoin Story podcast with your host, Gigi. On this episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Robin Sayre, the host who interviews a Bitcoiner every single day, 365 days a year. That's right. One fresh conversation every single day, diving into Bitcoin's impact from bankers to everyday believers. Robin isn't just prolific. He's on a mission. From skeptic to full-time orange pillar, he's dedicated himself to uncovering and sharing the true values of Bitcoin. Robin, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Such kind words. You make that professional introduction that people say I should do always, but I never do.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you for taking the time. And yeah, I like to do the introduction to the guest instead of putting it to the other side. But I guess with so many people that you have on the show, you already have enough preparations to do then, and also to do some introductions to the guest. But I'm super happy to have you on. As I mentioned to you off the record, I've been a big fan of what you've been doing. Kudos to you, Robin, and you're really putting in that proof of work into the pudding with releasing one episode every single day. I take my hat off to you. And yeah, super happy that you took the time off to come on my show today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much.
So perfect. So Robin, as we do with all guests, before we go into kind of deeper topics on Bitcoin and what it means to you, to kick things off, can you share where and how did your Bitcoin journey begin?
I think the most interesting part of my Bitcoin story and where it started was maybe even like in childhood, because I was always a very saving personality. I was always someone that saved more than you needed. I remember that one story from my childhood where I was in preschool, and my mom always gave me some lunch money, because in preschool you don't make your own money and you still need to buy some lunch. And always at that point I tried to save like 1 or 2 euros. So if I got like 5 euros, I just try to buy something for 3 or 4 euros, because at home there was free food. So I was trying to save money even like at very, very early age. And that resulted. And then at the same time, I had in a very early age, I started with like 16, 17 work at companies. So I had very early on excess capital as income to spare. So I started investing with like 17, 18 years old, started with stocks, started with savings accounts, ETFs, with all those things. Eventually ended up with picking individual stocks and was quite successful actually with it. And because I was quite successful with it, people bothered me with the question of like, what is this Bitcoin thing that I hear about? Even though I was not a Bitcoiner, they were not a Bitcoiner, but they thought like, hey, Bitcoin is like investing in Tesla. I invested in Tesla, so why don't you tell me about Bitcoin? And because of curious people that asked me a lot of questions, I was like, okay, I should dive deeper into this Bitcoin topic. I actually thought Bitcoin is a scam. Because I thought Bitcoin is a scam, I always told people that, and people asked me like, why is it a scam? And I wanted to prove them that Bitcoin is a scam. And in the process of trying to prove them why Bitcoin is a scam, I just kind of discovered Bitcoin. So it was like a weekend where on Friday I went into the belief Bitcoin is a scam, and on Sunday I came out of it saying, it might be more than a scam, it might be something better. And on Monday I bought my first Bitcoin on Coinbase. I don't recommend that exchange anymore. On Tuesday, I actually bought my first hardware wallet, the Ledger. I don't recommend them anymore, but that's what I kind of started to use. I'm very proud to say I'm self-custodial since the first day I got into Bitcoin. That's something very rare. That's one thing that I did right. But it took me about 3 years from first time hearing about Bitcoin in 2017 to 2020 to actually buy it in 2020. I made a lot of Bitcoin mistakes, and along the way, I lost some of them. I lost some Bitcoin along the way, in Celsius. I lost some Bitcoin in hardware wallets. I lost some Bitcoin with just making transaction mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes in my Bitcoin journey in my 5 years. And yeah, that's kind of a very quick run over my whole Bitcoin story. And then I started my Twitter channel, started my YouTube channel. And now I talked with over 500 different Bitcoiners to this day, including like Michael Sayre, Jeff Booth, Natalie Brunel, all the big ones that you know. And it's been a pleasure now being in Bitcoin. Now I start also building in Bitcoin. I just took on a role at Microseed, took a stake there and trying to build self-custodial solutions more and more. I'm just being more and more involved in the Bitcoin community, and my life is more and more Bitcoiny. From just asking a question, what should I do with my excess income, to being fully ingrained in the Bitcoin ecosystem. That's my very short overview of my story.
Amazing, Robin. It seems like it's been very short, like only 5 years, and so much has happened, and you've had such incredible experiences, and there's yet so much to happen in advance. So I guess even though you kind of compiled it into TLDR, how quickly Robin's journey happened, I mean, breaking it down, you are definitely one of the minimal guests, at least on my show, that went straight into self-custody. Usually people buy some on exchanges, lose them, get hacked, or just never even to this day go into self-custody, which you kind of had a different mindset from the get-go, which was the right one. Maybe not the right hardware wallet, but that's okay. We live and we learn and we progress in that. But maybe a question specifically on self-custody, which I believe you are, like me, a hardcore self-custody maxi. Why do you think, Robin, still so many Bitcoiners today don't practice self-custody practices? Why do they keep them on River, on Coinbase, on Strike? Why is it so hard for people to move into self-custody?
I ask myself the question a lot, and I think it's a fundamental convenience over security. It's the same reason why people choose to do things. There's the saying, the popular saying, show me your incentives and I will show you what you will do. And if the incentive is convenience and you didn't had a very hard life lesson, you're not incentivized to find out about self-custodial solutions. Most people that are listening to this, I would guess, live in a rather safe environment. They don't have to fear for their lives when they go out on the street to the supermarket. They probably haven't had a bank freeze their accounts. They probably aren't politically followed and by the police kind of monitored on a regular basis. So most people just have a bank account and it works. They're not getting the bank account frozen. They're not getting assets seized and all those things. And I'm one of those people. Like, I had never had a bad experience with a bank. All banks worked with me. I made a lot of Bitcoin transactions, a lot of different Bitcoin brokers, and never had any freezing or banning or anything like that. My bank account got once flagged. So my employer actually transferred money to me, and he couldn't because the money got bounced back, and he called the bank and was like, hey, I want to pay my employee. Why is that not possible? And they're like, oh, I'm very sorry. This employee's bank account is flagged as a very risky one. And this was my only negative experience. But the employer just said, like, put him on a whitelist. Like, I want to transfer money. And then the problem was solved. And that's about it. So even though we mostly have a very convenient situation and the banking system works for most of us, it doesn't work for all of us. So if I talk with someone from Africa that is unbanked, self-custody is very easy for them to see and to get. For someone that got their bank account seized because they are protesting for the wrong thing, for them it's very easy to explain self-custodial. But for someone that has never experienced how it feels when your freedom is taken away from a higher authority, they don't have the incentive. They don't have to look into self-custody. So why did I do it? In the beginning, I purely did it out of curiosity because I was a software developer and I was like, hey, that seems like a fun tech. I hold my stocks on the stockbrokers, and Bitcoin I hold on that USB stick. That's weird. I find out like how this works. The day one self-custodial was just because I was curious about the tech. I was not trying to be a freedom maxi. I was not trying to be a self-custody maxi. I was just trying like to see what this thing is.
What will happen.
And what will happen, yeah. And I literally put from a bank account 100 euros to Coinbase, converted it to Bitcoin, and then put those Bitcoin onto the ledger, and then the whole thing back, just to see what happens. Like, is that possible? Can I save my Bitcoin there and like transfer it back? And like, how does this all work? And how does transaction works? And I just wanted to see for myself. But then I just kept all my Bitcoin on that hardware wallet, and I needed a long time to improve on that hardware wallet. I luckily never really lost a significant amount of them, but it could have been. It was a big luck that I never lost any. I did a lot of mistakes. Let's keep it at that. And I think that's the main reason why people don't have self-custody, because they just don't have to, like, they didn't experience how freedom gets taken away. And with all security solutions, people that just got a security incident are more aware of the problem, and they are more aware why it matters to invest time and money into security solution. If you are a billionaire and you're walking around without security and someone robs you and cuts off your finger, now you know why you need a security guard next to you.
That's a good point.
And the same with self-custody. I think it will be a slow process of seeing how bad exchanges and banks and IOUs are, and then people will slowly get into them. And there's actually some interesting system going on, because people have the capacity to self-custody their Bitcoin. Providers of Bitcoin custody solutions are more incentivized to not screw up, because they know if they screw up, people have another alternative. They can go to self-custody. So this having the option of self-custody actually makes the custodian solutions better, because it gives people an exit valve. If a self-custody wouldn't even be an option, the custody solution would even be worse, because people don't even have the chance.
No incentive again.
The option to
make it.
Yeah, there's no incentive to do that. So I think everyone should do self-custody, because if you don't hold your own keys, someone else is holding those keys. And at that very moment, someone else is owning your Bitcoin. You can maybe show a paper like, hey, legally I own it, but who cares?
That's true.
If you own a gun, and you have a paper that says you own a gun, someone breaks in your house, takes your gun and points it at you, who really owns that gun at that very moment? The guy that holds the gun up to your face and can shoot you in every single moment. Even if you hold, like, imagine that you're holding that paper up to the robber that just has your gun in the hand. It's like, hey, you have to give me the gun because I own that gun.
I own it.
He will not do that because he has all the power. So if you give away your keys, you give away all your power, all your leverage. So don't do that. It's pretty straightforward. But as we discussed, most people did not wake up from that reality that the bank account can close tomorrow. The brokerage can get your Bitcoin tomorrow. I think it's great what Jack Mallers with Strike is doing. I think it's great what all the Bitcoin companies, Bitcoin only exchanges are doing, but they can take your Bitcoin tomorrow and do something else with it. And you have no clue about that. You don't see any of that. I mean, FTX is a best example. It's a huge exchange that was so trusted. And they just took your Bitcoin, and everyone, like the Hollywood stars, they had serious money. Like it was not a small player.
Even like Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Reilly was like their face of it and everything. Like they went to the top of the top.
Exactly. And if they can do it, I can guarantee you the brand, the exchange that you love right now, and the CEO that you love right now of that brand and of that exchange, they can rug you tomorrow and you have no way of knowing how to get your Bitcoin back. And maybe you get 50% of your Bitcoin back. Maybe you get 1% of your Bitcoin back. Maybe you don't get any Bitcoin back because maybe they don't even really hold Bitcoin. Maybe they do some shitcoin things and you don't have money. And if there's no money, where would you get your Bitcoin back? Those exchanges, I'm not saying those exchanges go bust, but if they do, what are you doing? And if you hold all your life savings in one exchange, they can rob you of your life tomorrow or today even.
Today, yeah.
It's kind of astonishing for me that people hold all their Bitcoin on Strike or like on any other wallet whatsoever. Like have your own keys.
That's true. And today, I mean, it's much easier than it is like a few years ago when the wallets and the whole UX of software was so cumbersome and it was like you had to be semi-computer scientist to understand to get through it. Today, it's super simple and there's a lot of solutions out there. But I think you bring up a great point, Robin, on the aspect of incentives. People are not incentivized, at least in the what we call the developed world where everything always works and they always have access to everything until they don't. I grew up and I was born on a tiny little island that most Bitcoiners know, which is Cyprus, which just over a decade ago had the haircut and the banks just got swiped. Anything over 100,000 just got taken away. And to this day, in 2025, 12 years later, still people didn't get their money back. And it's funny that event happened, yet people still trust their banks saying this will never happen in my country, until it does. And what I'm worried about is we're fast approaching the deadline of October. I don't know if that deadline will get pushed or not, but with the digital introduction of the digital euro, where things are going to get much more cumbersome and surveillance state is going to go through the roof. And do you think, Robin, that will be an incentive for people to start looking at self-custody? Or you think we're so, how should I put it? We're so numbed into walking into this surveillance state that won't change anything and people will still trust banks as they did and they'll keep their Bitcoin on exchanges?
I think the CBDC will actually be something else. I think a CBDC is actually the same as a stable coin. It is a Trojan horse for digital money. And the Trojan horse for digital money sounds really bad, but it's actually something good. What do I mean by that? If we normalize in society that every money is digital, and money is just like something digital and we don't have this cash thing anymore. We have our local CBDCs like the e-euro or like however it will be called. Then we maybe have like a stable coin in our wallet, like a USDC, USDT, whatever. And then we have our Bitcoin. And if we have that set up, people will naturally see, hey, I have in my digital wallet, I have that euro, I have that USDT, I have that Bitcoin. Two of them lose value drastically over time. One of them goes up every single year. Where do I put my money? If we normalize digital currencies and we are all on a digital playing field, people will drive to the best coin. Why wouldn't you? The same thing happened with gold, silver, and aluminium. At some point, people realized, hey, I have to hold the gold because that's the thing that holds the value the best. That actually goes up in purchasing power every year. If I now connected with Bitcoin versus the euro versus the US dollar versus some ETF versus real estate, you're like, hey, if I denominate everything in Bitcoin, all other assets, all other currencies are losing against it. So why would I put anything why would I put any financial energy in anything else than Bitcoin? That's why I put everything in Bitcoin. I don't have any stocks. I don't have MicroStrategy. I don't have any real estate. Like I literally own my podcast business and Bitcoin. Like that's literally all I own.
That sounds like a peaceful life.
It's a very peaceful life. I can pack up and go tomorrow to another country and like nothing changes, like just pay rent somewhere else.
That's
I don't
very
care
true.
about that. So I think that's a very important point to make, that we have that money revolution. And as long as we have the option, the freedom to decide for Bitcoin, as long as the central bankers don't go ahead and say, you should not own that Bitcoin, we will ban on-ramps, off-ramps, and all those things. As long as this is not the case, we will be good. And if this is the case, I'm just out of Europe. I don't care. If we are going the North Korea direction, like bye bye. Like I don't care. I can sit on some other mountain. There are mountains in America. There are mountains in El Salvador. I don't need to be in a mountain in Austria. And I think we all know that, and we are all ready to vote with our feet last. Before we vote with our voices, we vote with our actual votes and all those things. But at last resort, if the politics is just not changing, we are ready to vote with our feet. And the EU is aware of that. And I don't think it's possible that we are going in a situation where on and off ramps and all those things are banned in Europe. We are past that. We just made that MiCA license, and it has a lot of bad things in there. It's a lot of like KYC and bureaucracy and bad things for competition also in the Bitcoin startup world. But there's one good thing. It says Bitcoin is a thing. We're not going to ban it. It's regulated. It's an asset. You can buy it. You can sell it. You can trade with it. It's here to stay. So I think nobody talks about the good side of that bill, of saying like, that's a real thing. You have clarity. You can do your Bitcoin thing. So when we come to that realization that in America, there's no way they're going to ban Bitcoin. In Europe, there's no way they're going to ban Bitcoin. In the UAE, there's no way they're going to ban Bitcoin. Even like Russia looks like they're not going to ban Bitcoin.
They're not going to ban it. I'm actually based in Russia right now, so the rhetoric is pretty orange over here.
I love that. And then there is like, there's China. Yeah. I think they're going softer and softer on Bitcoin.
Where personal ownership is legal, like officially, like you can own Bitcoin, you just can't pay for goods. That's like the next hurdle. But owning as an individual is perfectly legal, which is also a big step up from a few years ago when they were banning it and suppressing it.
So even in China, you have a situation where you can own it. So I think we are stepping away from the fear or the threat of Bitcoin being banned worldwide. It was never possible from like starting from 2011, 2013 or something. Like there was a point in Bitcoin's history where it was no longer possible because of game theory that it was banned. But right now in 2025, we have the clarity that black on white, that it's not going to happen. It's just like the genie is out of the bottle. Bitcoin is regulated. Bitcoin is here to stay. That's just very clear to me. And so as long as this is the case, Bitcoin will win because Bitcoin is a better money. It's very clear to me. As long as Bitcoin is allowed to compete, it will compete and it will win. And we are now even above the point that it's even being able, even if the Europe and America and China is coming together, even if like G7 is coming together and all the BRICS countries are coming together and saying, we're going to ban Bitcoin, it's no longer possible.
Yeah.
The incentive structure and the game theory is skewed towards Bitcoin being there and just growing in the future. So the genie is out of the bottle and Bitcoin will win in the end. And there's a great asymmetry coming in because we know that's a fact and we know how good Bitcoin is. But go out on the street and ask 200 people what Bitcoin is and what the difficulty adjustment is and how they can set up a self-custody wallet and all of those questions.
Zero.
You
Nobody will
are
know
lucky if you get one good answer.
Yeah, most probably it will be zero.
You are really lucky if you get like one guy.
True. Which is fascinating, no? Like it's 16 years later since the protocol was born. It's the 5th largest asset class, yet most people have no idea how to operate it, how to hold it. It's crazy.
And that's exactly the point that I wanted to make with the asymmetry. You have the facts. You know what Bitcoin is. And you know there's no way it's not winning anymore. Only a handful of people actually having only a handful of people actually understand that. And that's where the asymmetry comes in. That's where you can make the 10x, the 20x, the 100x, the 200x, depending on what your time frame is, with your money, with Bitcoin. And this is what people, I think, don't understand how early we are. And for the people that don't think, again, to this 200 people example, just try it out to ask random strangers on the street about Bitcoin, and then you actually know how early we are. The same thing in the Big Crash movie. How is it called?
The Big Short.
The Big Short, yeah. In this movie, there was a scene where they went on this conference and asked people if they are aware of the risk and all of these things. The same thing you can do right now. Just go on a financial conference that's not a Bitcoin conference and ask them about Bitcoin. You are in the financial sector on a financial conference where they have no clue about what Bitcoin is. Like they have zero understand. Ask them what the difficulty adjustment is and how big a block size is and how often the Bitcoin gets mined and what the block reward is. Like ask them 5 simple Bitcoin related questions that are like technical and you actually have to look into it. They will not be able to answer that even on a financial conference, which is fascinating for me. And this is the asymmetry that we have in Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's a lot of truth in what you just said, Robin. I guess on the last point with the financial conference and generally financial people, when you bring up Bitcoin to them, they straight away dismiss it and they're like, no, it's just a fad. It's not going to last. It's a Ponzi. But actually the financial people are operating in the biggest Ponzi, which is like this whole shambles of fiat standard, which I think like the scene in the Matrix when they said like it's hard to change the system because people will like die till the end to like keep it running. And I feel like that's how people are in the financial sector. They're so accustomed to the corrupt fiat legacy system that now here is this like young generation of like freedom fighters and they're here like this code is the pure truth. And it's like, wow, basically everything I've done in my life as a financial professional, basically it's just bogus. Like it's just been theft. And now these guys expose it. And no, I don't want to believe it. I would rather carry on going my rogue way. But sooner or later, those guys will die out. Everything in life is cyclical. We're born, we're dead. The sun comes out, goes down, the moon comes up, it revolves. So I think it's just a matter of time. And going back to what you said, Robin, and I reiterate this many times on my podcast, how early we are. Even though people think they're late to the game because Bitcoin is 100K, I tell them, man, don't look at the fiat price. Even if we're at 150, 200K, it's irrelevant. The fact that what you just said, Robin, go out and ask people in the street, 200, 300 people, what is Bitcoin? Nobody will give you a direct and concrete answer. Is that proof in the pudding that we are so early? And this technology is going to be here long after we're gone, potentially even not just for hundreds of years, but 1,000-year technology, which if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, 16 years is nothing. And we're already the 5th largest asset class in the world. And soon we will be the top number 1. Gold will get pushed to the second one. Will that happen in 5 years, in 15 years? I don't know, but it's certainly going to happen because the scarcest asset in the world is going to take that first place. So I guess today getting involved and getting started in Bitcoin or trying to do something in Bitcoin, there hasn't been a better time ever because 10 years ago, it was still a question mark. You know, is this technology going to succeed? Is it going to get suppressed by the governments, by companies? But now we've kind of broke the water, as you said, and we legitimized it and it's regulated, like it or not, but it's definitely here to stay. So what's your take on when people say kind of, should I get involved in Bitcoin and start looking for a job in the Bitcoin space?
The first time I ever made any money, I got myself from that money a watch. And ever since then, I collect timepieces to remember times where I achieved some milestone. That's why I got the Bitcoin 2025 edition when I went to my first ever American Bitcoin conference. So for me, the Bitcoin watches from Coin Vigilante represents the time that we are living in. For every person that wears a Bitcoin watch, I know they are representing presenting sound money to the outside world. Make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. I know how big of a hurdle it can be to have self-custody, but it's so freaking important to make that first step. We have to make sure it's as easy and simple as possible. And that's exactly what BitBox did. BitBox created the simplest and the easiest hardware wallet to use to get into self-custody. So get yourself a BitBox down from the link in the description. And when you use code Robin, you even get a 5% discount. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need. This is very easy if you understand Bitcoin. Because for me, for the question of like, is it too late for me to get into Bitcoin? No, it's not. You should get into Bitcoin. Is it too late to build something in Bitcoin? No, it's not. We are very early on. Like all those questions, should I do more in Bitcoin? Should I spend more time in Bitcoin? Should I invest more money in Bitcoin? Should I get started in Bitcoin? All those questions are very simple with a yes to answer. But here's why. Bitcoin is not just like an asset. It's not just like an investment. It's not Tesla, Nvidia. It's not even gold or anything like that. We have for the first time ever digital scarcity. We have for the first time ever found something that was never done before. At the same time, the same as in the history it was with the printing press, with the steam engine, with the electronic telegraph, with all those inventions that changed the course of history, we have technology that is more than just a fling. For example, Facebook is a fling, but the HTTPS protocol isn't. The first bicycle company was a fling. I have no clue what the first bicycle company even was. But the wheel, that's something that holds true up until now. And the printing press, the first kind of book companies that used the printing press to print books is probably not around anymore. I have no clue how to even look up that information. But the printing press, the concept of printing new books is still around, even though now we have way easier way to print books than the early printing presses. And those technologies, those concepts, those protocol layer inventions, they are changing the paradigm. We're calling it a paradigm shift. It's something so fundamental in our DNA, in our being, that it's completely changing how we think. And it is those are the technologies that have a fork in the road of human civilization. So first we went the one way, and all of a sudden someone said, hey, we can walk that way, and we are like 500 years faster at our target. And everyone is all of a sudden shifting towards that other direction. And the few people that don't go there, they have to come to the other side also, because they don't know that's a dead end. They don't realize that fork that they went to and they stayed on the same road, it's a dead end. And Bitcoin is one of those technologies where you're actually forced to adopt it. And it's just a question of like, when will you adopt it? First, for the first question of like, should I even get into Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin and all those things? Yeah, like that's that. You can buy it now, or you can buy it in 10 years or in 50 years, but at some point you have to buy it. You're forced to. That you don't have a choice in that matter. It's not voluntary. Bitcoin is forced onto you, not by the central bank, but by Mother Nature, I would say, by game theory, by incentives, by the protocol layers. The same way as you are forced to use the wheel because you are on a train, or you are on a bicycle, or you are on a car, you have to use the wheel. You are also forced to use Bitcoin at some point. Is that in 10 years or in 100 years or in 500 years? Hard to say. But at some point you are forced to. And so why not adopt it before everyone else does it? Because now 99.99% of people are unaware of Bitcoin. And even those who are aware of Bitcoin and have Bitcoin, those are also not really into Bitcoin. Like only a few handful of people are really into Bitcoin. It's like 100,000, maybe 200,000 people, maybe 300,000 people. The rest of them, or rest of the millions of Bitcoiners, they're just having like a few thousand euros of Bitcoin laying in some strike account. You didn't get it. If you have a net worth of 200,000 and you have 1,000 euros in Bitcoin, you don't get Bitcoin. You're not a Bitcoiner. And so to the second question, should you build in Bitcoin? Should you do something in Bitcoin? Should you have a podcast in Bitcoin? Should you build a company in Bitcoin? Should you do all those things? Also, yes. But why? If you are not only someone that goes first on the new road, you have an advantage because you can plant ice cream shops on the road. You can plant water stops on the road, and you can charge people for those things, and you own things in this new road. And you can be a service provider, a product, a service, whatever you want to do on that new road. And so being early in that trend and being there where the road is, where everyone will come. If you are standing in the middle of the desert and you know everyone will build their Las Vegas towers there, you will just buy the land and build the towers, build the hotels, build the restaurants, and be there and charge a fortune for that. It's super easy if you think about it. So if you are convinced of Bitcoin and you're convinced of the things that I say, you're wasting your time building for any other industry. You're wasting your time and energy not doing something for Bitcoin. Now, a very, very important disclaimer. There are people that actually like their fiat job. They actually just work and they actually really enjoy what they're doing. They maybe are a doctor, maybe they are a lawyer, maybe they are, those are apparently the two professions that come to my mind right now. They are maybe like software engineer, they are like a teacher, like whatever they are. They maybe like that so much that they don't want to give it up. And that's fully understandable. And for them, it's probably the best play to just keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, even though Bitcoin is a paradigm shift, Bitcoin is still just money. So the best thing you can do for yourself and for your family is to just adopt it as money. Yes, you can
do your fiat job and stack
benefit
sats
also
and be
if
happy.
you build a company in Bitcoin. Exactly. That's the whole point of it. And the point I was making is like, you can still do like the Bitcoin company, like build something in Bitcoin, but that's hard and it's risky. And I know Bitcoin will win, but there are a lot of Bitcoin companies that already failed. And there's a new wave of Bitcoin companies that will also fail. My point is, if you have an easy way and you can do something in the Bitcoin ecosystem and you are a Bitcoiner, you probably will like it a lot, working with a bunch of lunatics like us. But if you don't have an easy way in there and you like your job, you like what you're doing, like why change it? Like just like save in Bitcoin and you will retire very early and you can do Bitcoin things later. So you can change the road from this dead end to the Bitcoin end, but just be someone that walks on the road, that works for an ice cream shop, that works for someone and just like gets the Bitcoin payments. I just had that very early, and you probably feel it when I talk, but like I couldn't anymore not work on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But this is like, then we come from those 200,000 lunatics to like, I don't know, 5,000 lunatics, 10,000 lunatics that actually are very passionate about that actually want to do something in Bitcoin and building things. So that's my very long-winded answer to a very easy question. So sorry for my tangent.
But it was a very important one because, a lot of people come up with these questions like, is it a good time to get started? Am I too late? What can I do? And kind of like they think, well, the exchanges are here, the wallets are here. What else can I do? But I always tell people, we're building this whole new world. There's so much stuff to get built. And nice jug there. I love the big Austrian pint glass with some water in it.
Yeah,
nice.
It's actually
you need to
it's
represent.
actually a German one. Yeah, it's
Paulaner, no?
It's from Munich, from Germany.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Paulaner. It's a great one, a great beer. I don't drink beer. Full disclaimer: people think that I'm a beer freak because I drink out of that glass, but I've drank maybe, 2 liters of beer all my life. And the average for an Austrian per year is probably like, 100 liters. And I haven't drank a beer in like 2, 3, 5 years. I don't know. I've kind of stopped drinking alcohol, but
that's common between Bitcoiners, by the way. Quitting alcohol or not even starting alcohol.
Yeah. But I love the glass because it has 1 liter in there.
Nice.
And I can just keep it on my desk and I always have water. And I don't like I don't like this
convenience.
Yes,
sometimes having a custodial glass, it is good. It's very convenient.
Exactly. I cannot hold my water. Like I hold my water self-custodial, I guess. That's my water.
That's true. So going back,
it's right next to like my Microseed things.
Nice. You've got everything by a handful away. So yeah, going back to what I was mentioning, we're building this whole new world. There's so much stuff to get built that if you're like, as you said, Robin, someone that's, that loves your job and you are a doctor or like a lawyer, someone that's dedicated a long time of your life to get your expertise, switching suddenly overnight to go and do something in Bitcoin is definitely not the right route. But if you're someone like right out of college today and loves innovation, loves tech, in the old world, there's such an oversaturation and competition where there's so many companies doing the same stuff that on this side, I feel like even though it's still really risky, and as you said, there's a lot of Bitcoin companies that have failed already and will fail, but there's so much to be built. And especially when we bring in Nostr into it, the decentralized data protocol, I mean, wow, and even if you want to go crazier, bring the AI factor, you have the Bitcoin, Nostr, and AI. There's so many things that could be built that could actually make, life easier and more interesting to people, that it's an endless loop of what should you do more than should I do anything? What do you think about that, Robin?
I think the Bitcoin, working in Bitcoin is only in close competition with working in AI these days. So those two things I'm always looking in of like, this is probably the most exciting two industries to be in right now and to work in, because the one thing will completely reshape the financial structure. And this is actually, in my humble opinion, more important than AI, but I'm biased. I'm working in Bitcoin, and the only thing that comes close to Bitcoin for me is AI. It's such a fast development that happens, and I use it every single day, and I'm completely dependent on all the softwares that I use in AI. And I didn't even use any of that 2 years ago. So it went really quick from not knowing about it to using it every single day and being obsessed with it. And I have a hard time understanding how I should run my business without AI now. Like it's just like very hard for me. If I have to I just founded a small new company in Austria to make more efficient things. It's very boring. I will not get into it. But basically, I got a lot of forms, I think 30 sides of forms that I had to fill. And there were words in there from the bank that I didn't even know. I was like, is that Spanish? I have no clue what that word means. And I just used AI, put that paper in AI and said like, please fill it for me with all the information you have. And then with like some adjustments of like, hey, what is that? What is that? Like, why did you fill here? Like, why did you point this there? Like, why did you do that? Like, oh, should we not do this instead? And I put it and everything worked, and I did not get any revisions back from the bank, and they loved it, and it was perfect. And even Microseed talks about that the trading things with Strike, Strive, and Stride, he made with AI. Like, he's now no longer going into lawyer meetings. He's going into AI, deep think mode, gets all these situations in there, then asks a bunch of questions, comes up with a plan, and then goes with that plan, with all the things, to the 1,000 lawyers and says, do that. So you are probably saving tens of thousands of euros, maybe hundreds of thousands of euros that you otherwise would have wasted on lawyers. You still need them to execute it.
And a lot of time, which is more precious than money.
Exactly. A lot of time that you were saving in that. And the same thing I do. I have a tax consultant and he's great. Like, he's doing an amazing job. But I come to him with a plan. Like, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what I need. And I'm like, this is what I want. And I just want to confirm that I did not make any mistake. And I want for him to just put the seal of approval on there. How long till I don't want his approval anymore? I'm just saying, AI, do it. I trust you, AI. Right now, we're not there. Not at all. It makes a lot of mistakes. It's an early technology. I already feel like 80% of the things that I have to interact with other people, like with AI. If you are writing me an email, chances are AI is writing you back. And I'm just looking at the message. I'm like, yeah, that's what I also would have written, sent.
Especially when you see the M dashes, you're like, that's definitely ChatGPT's signature. Classic.
I told ChatGPT to never use a slash. Like, you will never find it in my thing.
But most people don't. They leave out that prompt. They just say, create the reply, and then you can see it straight away.
Yeah, I don't know why AI is using them even. Like, no human ever used that slash, and now AI is using that, and now we know, like, such a silly small thing makes text exposed as AI. Because if you just take it out, I'm to the point where it's really hard, because I trained AI so good and so hard on like copying my writing style. For me, I should do that once. I think if I give my girlfriend 2 texts, 2 emails, one I have written, one AI has written, she probably has no clue who written what, because it's so freaking good. And I did that once, actually, a year ago, just the voice without a video. I put my voice things into Riverside. In Riverside, you can do an AI voice of you, and you basically just, I basically just sent a small message, like a 30 seconds message to my girlfriend, and she did not say anything about it, because it was like voice, and like people can have a weird voice and all those things. And it made this and this in there, and this like he put those words that I put in there also in there, so it was not perfect. And she did not notice that it was AI. And then later the evening, I was like, hey, you noticed that it was AI? And she's like, what? Like, so my girlfriend with a voice message did not recognize my voice, that it was AI. If that's the case, how long till you cannot prove anything in the internet? Like, we are very close to that. I feel like till now, you can still kind of figure it out. Is it AI or not? If you look closely and if you pay attention. But how long? I don't have TikTok on my phone. I don't use TikTok. I would never use it. But my girlfriend uses it, and I scroll through her TikTok. And the amount of AI influences that I saw was astonishing. Like, every 10th video that I saw was just purely AI. And I was like, that looks super good. Like, if I wouldn't have looked for it, like I specifically looked for it, how much AI is in the feed, that's why I did it. If I wouldn't have looked for it, I'm like I would have just watched the video and like that. I don't know if it's AI or not. If we come to a world where everything is AI, everything is kind of hard to verify, what's the worth of Bitcoin if Bitcoin is the only thing we can truly trust anymore?
And verify.
A private signature. Bitcoin, you can actually verify. And that's the last thing you can really verify and trust. What's that worth? Like, how many trillions will that add to the Bitcoin market cap?
No, it's it's scary and exciting, this period, because on one hand, I've been hearing for the last 2 years people saying, AI is going to take over our jobs and, people won't, but it's the same thing like we had industrial revolution and electricity coming around. They were saying, like this electricity is going to kill all of us and like people won't have any jobs. The same thing with the steam engine. They said, everybody's going to lose their jobs, but then we didn't. We developed new jobs. I think AI is just going to make us superhumans, where as in your case and, other people, my case as well, where we're just like a handful, one or like 2-3 people doing so many things at once, gives you the capabilities to really speed up the process and scale your activities. So I think AI is good to most part. The other aspect, which you just said, kind of verifying, and how will the world look where 99% of things that you see on your phone, on TV, everywhere is just AI generated and is not real? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But then it comes back to the question which you said, what is the worth of Bitcoin? I think it's a lot more, because that's the only thing that could actually be verified and tangible, that is real, even though you physically can't touch Bitcoin, right? Like it's in our head. It's code that we believe is worth X amount. So it feels like Inception, right? Like you're a layer within layer within layer. But I guess that's what makes it fun being a human being in the year of 2025.
It's so fascinating. And it's also like, if you think about AI and if you think about the evolution, when people say AI will come from a job, yes and no. I don't think AI specifically will come for your job, but a human being using AI, like one human being using AI, will replace a team of 10 people.
Yeah.
The thing that you first needed like 5 people to do, let's say a podcast, you first needed like an editor and all those things, and like a thumbnail design, and you needed an audio engineer and all of those things. And I employ 3 people to do all of my podcast things, and we're using AI a lot. And because of AI, I have 3 people and not like 5 or 6 people. And I think we are at some point at the time where we are only using one person that runs the whole post-production of a podcast and is as good and as efficient as the same guy with 50 people working for him and doing a similar good job. So that's how I look at it. The same way as at some point in history, 80% of people worked in a farm. How many people are working now in a farm? Like I just wanted to type it in ChatGPT, but wasn't finished with it because I'm really curious in like how many people are actually working. Let's say how many people on Earth are now working on a farm. I'm curious about that because like
very small, probably less than 1%.
Like 80% of people, like even 1%. More than that. Yeah, and it's like it's. I mean, it could be more because, like in Africa and Asia, it's like more common still.
That's
like
true.
In the Western civilization, we are differently. Let's see what it says. It says 20%.
What does the AI tell us?
Like 25%. That's
25?
I have no clue. It says that in Africa and in Asia, it's very still a lot, like 44%.
That's true.
But like Europe and America, the regions have way lower ones. How high is it in Europe? How high is it in Europe and USA? I think USA has to be around 10 or maybe even under, because you have to, like, it's also like hard. What are you? Oh yeah, European Union, 4%.
Wow. Quite a drop.
So, and United States, direct on-farm employment is 1%.
1%.
And if you make all the agricultural and food-related sectors, like everything coming into agriculture is 10%. But on-farm, it's 1% in the United States and 4% in the in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's crazy for me when you look at those numbers, when you were like, at some point, almost everyone worked on a farm because that's like all we did. And the same way AI will completely change how we work and what we work, but people will still do stuff. Like we will not sit on our, like maybe, like, I don't know, like maybe most of the people just sit on their ass, watch Netflix and go to the pool because it just needs like 5% of the people working to sustain all our lives. Like that's a possibility.
You mean the
With
guys
AI
that bought
and
Bitcoin in
like,
2025, right?
I personally think that exactly. So I'm just very bullish and I'm just very optimistic about the world that we are entering with AI and Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, me too. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not worried about us not having a job. If anything, we're going to have more creative and more inspiring jobs because with every technological leap, I believe all of us humans are creative creatures that were put on this world to love each other and to create stuff. And the people that say, oh, I'm not creative, you just haven't found your creative path. Because I truly believe everyone has creativity. And if you find something that you're creative and you enjoy, and it's really your passion, your true calling, it's the best thing you can do in life. And I think all these technological advancements, including and especially AI, will really push humanity to find what they're passionate about and let them strive and be a one-man business that can sustain themselves, their families, and really live the life to their own rhythm instead of a 9-to-5 miserable life, which we spoke about. Some people love their jobs, but let's be honest, most people, I would say 70%, if not more, really don't enjoy their job. And they just have to do it because they've got bills to pay. So me too, Robin. I'm super bullish on the future where we're going. To round up our conversation like I do with all guests, Robin, what is one advice you would give to individuals who are only starting their Bitcoin journeys today?
That's super hard. I got that question sometimes already. And I haven't figured out a good way to answer that because to start your Bitcoin journey. So if you are not fully into Bitcoin, you're just getting started or you're just like watching your first kind of podcast, the most important thing you kind of have to do is realize there is more. Don't stop looking. Even if you feel like I've already kind of watched a lot of Bitcoin content or I've already kind of started, like just keep digging. It's fascinating how deep this rabbit hole goes. And I think that's one, if I have to give it down to one thing, I would just say like, stay curious and just keep digging down there. It's fascinating how deep it goes and how interesting it also is. And, I will keep it with that one. Just keep digging. It's very important.
I like it. You know, the staying curious and keep on digging and never thinking you know it all, because none of us know it all. I'm sure even Adam Back doesn't know all of it, or Nick Zappa. We're always learning new things. So staying curious is the key. And I think that's fantastic advice. Robin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on your Bitcoin Story podcast today. Thank you for taking the time and your mission and your dedication that you give to Bitcoiners and voice them every single day. Where's the best place to send our listeners that want to follow you more and get in touch?
Twitter and YouTube. So if you want to reach out to me and talk with me, just reach out to me on Twitter. I read all of my DMs, and then on that's where you reach me and where you find my shit posting and where you find my DMs. If you want to follow my podcast, that's probably the best way, YouTube, but I'm also on all the podcast platforms that you want to listen to. I think Spotify is also pretty big. For my audience, Fountain is also pretty big for my audience. I'm also, if you don't like the normal platforms, I'm also on Rumble. I'm building something there. It's really fun to be in Rumble. So yeah, you probably find me on every platform. I'm also on Instagram, posting some more private things and more live things there. So if you have a platform that's your favorite platform where you spend most of your time on, just type in my name. You will find me probably.
Yeah, no, search for Robin Sayre. I think you won't be that hard to find. So any platform, you heard it from Robin himself. And anyone listening to this conversation, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and help spread the signal. Until next time, stay curious, stay principled, and most of all, stay unruggable. Thank you, and see you in the next one.
This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.